We think of death as something with a bad connotation, something extremely scary, something that's evil. But what if I told you that our mortality is the biggest gift that we've received? And I believe this because you have to look at what time means to humans. You see, for an omnipresent person or an omnipresent God, time doesn't exist because he's not in the confines of mortality. So, time is basically an illusion for humans. It's our way of putting meaning to the fact that we live and one day we're not here anymore. So, we have to reconcile that with an illusion called time. Now, time becomes more and more valuable the less there is of it. So, it's like economy, the typical supply versus demand. For example, if I told you you had one day left to live, you'd probably make the absolute most out of today. You would do everything you've been meaning to do with no fear because you knew you would die tomorrow. What if I told you that you would live forever? At first, you might be all giddy and thinking, yes, I'm going to live forever. I'm never going to die. This is amazing. But then you start realizing that if you live forever, that means that you have infinite days. And infinite days start to lose meaning because there's no limit on them. So maybe the first 50 years, even 100 years, you're happy. You're doing everything that a human can possibly do. But when it comes to year 4,000, 5,000, you're already struggling of finding things to do. And when it goes to year 10 million, you're basically in a self-proclaimed torture cycle. And I gave you this thought experiment because I want you to understand that your mortality is the very thing that gives meaning to the time you're alive. It's a hard concept to reconcile with because the very thing that we're told is the death of us is evil. Now I'm telling you is the thing that's supposed to make us value our life? Well, yes. For example, if you look at your bank account and you have $100 left and buying a soda costs $1, that soda is going to be very valuable to you because that's 1/100th of your entire budget. However, you have infinite money. Once you buy everything, you realize money to me is useless. I wish I could just burn it all. It has no meaning. And so this carries across to every other relationship you have. The meaningful part of a relationship is the thought that one day we won't be here anymore and that one day it will end. And I mean, this even carries on to love if you really think about it, because most people think that love is something, again, giddy, something that gives you butterflies. And while that may be part of it, I think true love is, for example, when you see a couple who are 90 years old and one of them just passed, and the other partner is in deep grief, in deep pain. He feels that pit in his stomach and that hole in his heart. That is the feeling of love. Because when you love someone and you don't have them anymore, you miss them. And when you miss someone, you know that they were a big part of you. So mortality also adds to the meaning of love. And so, I mean, the Stoics had a very good perception of this. They would say, when you hug your son, hug him knowing that tomorrow he may as well die. And when you live your life, know that you live it knowing that a rock might hit you and you might die. I'm not sure that's what Marcus Aurelius said, but you get the gist. And so it adds a new meaning to life. Number one, that life must be lived as if it were your last day. Well, not exactly, but it must be taken advantage of. And number two, reconcile with the fact that you will die. And I mean, all of us know this, at least I hope so. Maybe one person out of a million thinks that they can find a way to escape mortality and maybe even commit quantum suicide, which is something that I was looking at yesterday. Very interesting theory, but we'll get into it in another video. But most of you know that you're going to die one day, but you don't really know. You haven't really come to terms with it. So I challenge you after this video to really sit with yourself for a good 10, 20 minutes and go down the rabbit hole and realize that you're going to die. Like one day, you are going to lose your consciousness and you won't exist anymore and you won't know what's yet to come. You might go to heaven. You might not exist anymore. Your consciousness might fade. You may be reborn. I don't know what your beliefs are, But one thing's for certain, one day you won't be on this earth anymore. And once the panic has set in from there, look at what you've been doing with your life so far. You wake up, brush your teeth, hopefully. Maybe you sit in bed and scroll on TikTok for a bit, eat some food. Basically live an unproductive life, glued to a screen, not realizing that time is going by faster because of it, because you're really doing no activities in your life except being glued to a screen. And so once you realize, you might die after this video, or you might die in 20 years, and the fact that you don't know is the most exhilarating fact, maybe you'll start thinking next time you go on your phone, I am mortal, and I may not have much time left. And even if I do, in the grand scheme of things, time goes by fast, and it's going to go by even faster. Why don't I just actually live the life that I've wanted to live? Why don't I actually just take the action to become the man who I've wanted to become? And this, I believe, is the greatest motivator for discipline. It's not 3 a.m. morning routines. It's not, grounding. It's understanding that the sole purpose of your life is to live it. And that once you're not here anymore, you don't get another chance. And because of that, your mortality is a gift. So live it. Live it understanding that you are mortal and then you are meant to die one day, and that is okay, because that gives your life today a meaning, a definition, a purpose.